David Brewster here, new episode of 3 for All. This is 3 Brandon Ellis Licks from 2018, and I've had some requests to feature some of Brandon's music. And for those of you unfamiliar with his name or his playing, let me assure you, Brandon Ellis will melt your face off. He's an up-and-coming, shred-minded metal guitarist, extremely talented, very musical and aggressive and everything when he plays. Great player, and I've been following him for a few years, and he's definitely a star on the rise, or a rising force, pun intended. And there's some killer licks in this lesson. Some of the coolest licks I think I've ever shown for the 3 for All series. So get ready, here we go. So Brandon's really only been on the scene over the last like maybe 12 or 15 years. So he is kind of an up-and-coming, new guitarist on the scene. But he's worked with the Black Dahlia Murder and Arsis and Cannabis Corpse and some groups like that. Some guest appearances and stuff, in the studio. But then this summer in 2022, he actually toured with Exodus, and he was filling in for their guitarist, and I saw some footage of him playing with Exodus, and he was tearing it up. Great stuff. So the licks in this lesson actually came from Brandon's YouTube channel, and he's been posting, videos and clips and stuff in the studio and backstage and from home and wherever for the last few years on Instagram and YouTube. And I kind of locked on those because I did find a lot of live, bootlegs and stuff with him playing, live. But you really couldn't hear him. Like maybe the drums were too loud or the guitar was kind of buried or it was a bad, bootleg. But these, home videos and backstage videos and stuff are really good. And you can actually really hear Brandon playing. And there's some sick stuff hiding in this episode. But then also, his 80s and 90s metal guitar collection is also sick. He's got like a bunch of old Jacksons and Charvels and ESP guitars. I couldn't help but notice, like, every video he's playing a different guitar and there's guitars piled up behind him and stuff. And it's like, man, what does he have in there? So cool. Alright, the first lick's a melodic phrase that revolves around E Lydian dominant. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but the lick looks and sounds like this. One more time. So like I said, it's basically E Lydian dominant, and you can think of that a couple different ways. You could think Lydian with a flat 7, or Mixolydian with a raised 4th, and either way, you're going to find the scale. And so E Lydian dominant lives right here. Mixed Lydian with a raised 4th or Lydian with a flat 7 right there. There's your raised 4th. There's your flat 7 right there, that D. And then the lick that Brandon played is like this. So he's basically walking up the scale, grabs that B, and then grabs A sharp and bends that a half step to B. And release that bend, come down to that G sharp, F sharp to E. Like that. Then you hear him slide into this E, then he grabs this D note and bends that up a whole step and back to match that E note. And then this C sharp D, C sharp with vibrato. And then this A to B slid. And then E to F sharp slid, F sharp to E slid. Like that. Really expressive, interesting melodic phrase. Next up is a melodic sweeping lick, and this is basically revolving around G major 7. It's really cool. Something like this. One more time. So we're basically starting on this F sharp, and Brandon's also dipping and wiggling his bar a little bit, so I'm missing that part of the lick, but the notes and everything's right here. But he starts with this F sharp, and he's kind of wiggling the bar right there in the beginning, like that. And then this D, C, D, and then right there, you're going to grab G, C, D. There's like a little sweep right there. And then right there, go back to that F sharp to D to C. And then you're going to slide this F sharp to G. And he also kind of dips and wiggles the bar right there. And right there, it's going to change to G major right there. You know, really cool. Go back to that B note, and then you're going to grab that C and bend that to D. You know, really, really cool lick. So let me go really slow. And there's like two stealth sweeps in there. It's this one and that. Just like little 3, you know, string sweeps. You know, really interesting lick, and I love those kind of like turnarounds in the middle of a sweep, because usually sweeps are just straight up or straight down. But that one's kind of moving around melodically in sequence. Such a cool lick. Next up is a terrifying pull-off phrase, and it's something like this. It's crazy. One more time. Something like that. I actually need to clean this up because that's really, really hard to play. And it's basically a big challenge for your pinky, big time. But we're basically doing these 3-note kind of pivot arpeggio, you know, moves. And we're starting way up here, right there, and then right there. And then we're gonna have another shape right here. So there's 3 different shapes we're gonna be playing with. This one, and this one. So you can kind of think of that as like implied diminished. That's kind of an implied minor shape, and that's kind of implied major right there. But we've got, and you're going to go back to that middle shape and do, and go back to this shape, and then right there you're going to stay right here and do it 3 times, and then you start hearing that alternating kind of, and then end on E. I'm going to play that again really slow like this. So you want to stay on this one 3 times, and then you're doing that alternating shift 4 times, like that. And then end on that E right there. One more time, a little bit faster, but not real fast. Definitely a big challenge. And it has such a wicked sound. It's so cool. Here's a bonus lick, and this is actually tuned down a whole step. So this is a different clip with Brandon. He's playing a different guitar, and it's in a different tuning. But I wanted to include this because it's really, really cool. It's a cascading neighbor tone phrase or idea. Really cool, like this. You know, really strong classical, you know, flavor there. One more time. So slower, you can actually see and hear what's going on. One more time. So right there, double pick this E, and then you're going to pull off B to G on the B string, which is kind of unusual. And you're grabbing this F sharp right there. And then there's a little bit of that neighbor tone action, that D sharp to E. And after that D sharp to E, you're going to do B to A sharp to B. You know, another neighbor tone idea right there. And right there, that G to F sharp's a neighbor tone, and then this D sharp to E. And you hear two power chords, you know, a B5 to an E5 to give it that cadence, you know, kind of ending. And Brandon has a bunch of licks like that where they're finger twisting and they kind of maneuver around and sequence around in a really unusual way. I love stuff like that. Alright, that's going to wrap this episode of 3 for All with 3 Brandon Ellis licks from 2018, and definitely Brandon is somebody to notice and watch, you know, a star on the rise, or a rising force like I mentioned earlier, because he's definitely moving forward in his career with his music. He's only 30 years old, so he's young. I don't think he's fully established or done what he's getting ready to do, like whether it's a solo album or continuing to work with Black Dahlia Murder or maybe Exodus or somebody. I don't know what Brandon's going to end up doing, but I have a feeling it's going to be really, really cool. So keep an eye on him and his music, and leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to my lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content and material. Thank you.